Evening. I'm just waiting for the record button to process, and we shall begin. Um, there we go. I think it's recording. Let's just start the webinar. Brilliant. So the webinar has begun, ladies and gentlemen. Um, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but unfortunately there's been a few errors with regards to technicalities as well as issues relating to the time of the webinar tonight. So unfortunately we have a very quiet evening, but I will be taking the webinar again um, tomorrow. So let's begin. I'm not going to be able to always keep up to date with the chat room, but what we can do is we can just move back and forth and work with each other. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to just bring this across if I can slightly. Just want to make sure that if there is any comments, we can at least keep up to date with each other. Alright, perfect guys. So today I'm just going to do a lesson on basic instruments in the Forex market with MetaTrader 4. As you can see, my broker is FX Primus. It doesn't matter, you can have any broker. I'm primarily just going to do it on my demo account. And we may begin. There you are, Zoma. So unfortunately, this is also a big problem when you have a one laptop screen. It doesn't always function as well as you'd hope. So, okay, brilliant. You can hear me. Some guys can't access the online mentorship. Unfortunately, Zoma, this is my first or second webinar, so they should be able to access now. I've tried to put up a few briefs for people to join. But yeah, unfortunately tonight there has been a few issues, but we'll resolve it with another webinar. Firstly, my name's Matt. Welcome. I've been a GFI member for the last 2 months, and I've been doing really well technically and with chart analysis. So George has given me the job of helping teach the global group of GFI students and students as well in a global aspect. So firstly, let's do a Q&A. What is your problems? What are your problems when it comes to trading? Please just give me some highlight briefs so I can go through exactly what you're struggling with. And then hopefully other people will join us. And if they don't, then fortunately you get a class yourself. So we'll have to just improve on that. So yeah, please let me know what your issues are with regards to Forex and how I can help you. What are you struggling with? I'm struggling to identify retracements. Okay. That's fine. We'll go through that. Is that the only problem you have? Can you not just give me a overall waves, impulse, and correction? Okay. Just please define what you mean by waves, impulse, and correction. Is that just the general flow of the trend, or what are you trying to give me an explanation with regard to that, please, so that I can just help you move forward. And then we can move forward. We'll actually take it from here, and then further on we will go ahead. This is actually decent. It's quite a nice, quiet session. So we'll cover a lot of stuff on a short-term basis. So retracements. Firstly, what do you know about retracements? Well, when you look at the forex markets, regardless of if things go up or down, they don't go up or down in a smooth manner, unfortunately. What happens is you find retracements along the way, and I'm sure yourself as well as other people who might join us and who will see this video later will identify that the forex market doesn't work in a smooth, regulated manner in terms of you don't have 15 candles that consecutively go up and 100 candles that consecutively go down. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's based on identifying points where we might find retracements, where we might find changes in pattern, and how we do that is firstly we can see how we're on the daily, and we can draw our lines. Okay, I'm just reading your comment here. Okay, I was looking at one pair. It went up from the highest high, it went back down and up again, but didn't form the highest high, and it went down to form the lowest low. I was thinking if it goes up, it will be equal to previous high, but it went sideways. Okay, so what you find with that, Summer, is that if it didn't go above the previous high, it means that there's going to be a change in direction, a change in pattern of some sort. So all that just means is that you will find that there's going to be a change. It could form now a downtrend where now it's going to be lower highs, lower lows, instead of previously where it was higher highs and higher lows. And if you find that it's moved sideways, it's probably a ranging pair. Which currency pair was it, may I ask? That would actually be very helpful. And then we can move forward, and I'll show you how you clearly identify movement and as well as retracements. No stress. No, don't worry about this. Shall I continue, or do you want me to wait for you until you find the currency pair? We are actually live right now on video, so efficiency would probably be best. But let me know exactly what currency pair it is, and then we can move forward. GBP US dollar. Okay, brilliant. I actually have that open. There is a lot of questionability around the British pound and the US dollar. Firstly, I'm sure you're aware that Brexit's coming out, or the news on Brexit's very volatile at the moment. There's a release on Wednesday, the 16th, and there's also I think it's 15th, Wednesday the 15th, apologies, or Thursday the 16th, I'm not completely sure. And then on the 23rd and 24th is when they're releasing the statement whether, 16th, thank you, whether Britain's going to obviously be leaving the Euro, the European Union. Now, this plays a huge role because now we're leading up to the big news, and it's going to have a huge effect on how the currency pair acts in relation to other currency pairs. Now, as you can see, I've actually got the GBP US dollar open, and you can see it's actually very volatile. I mean, look at these spikes. It's quite ridiculous, actually. But it's a good time to actually understand how things are functioning, and any slight bit of news on the pound especially will cause a huge movement, so just be aware with that, and maybe just watch the chart up until the 23rd, 24th, and then see if the pound leaves the European Union. If it does, then it should strengthen. It should weaken. If they leave the European Union, it should weaken, and if it stays in the European Union, it should strengthen. So you'll definitely see a common trend leading up to that. People will try and they might want to sell the pound because they know it's going to increase in value if it stays, and it'll be a good opportunity to buy. And the pound might increase in value just because if they are preparing for people to leave, or preparing for the Britain to leave the European Union, they want to have as strong a currency as possible so that it doesn't affect their currency on a longer term. So with this pair, just be very careful. It will be ranging, and it will be very volatile for the next coming weeks, up until the 24th. but let's actually have a look. So the easiest way for myself especially to identify with retracements is, firstly, you want to have a look. Can you still hear me? Hello? Sorry, Zama, can you still hear me? I just want to check there was an error. Perfect, brilliant. Okay, so with retracements, what you want to do, so say for instance I wanted to enter this trade on the daily, and I'll actually tell you I'm currently live on this trade. I entered right here, so I was in quite nicely. But how did I determine that entry point? Well, firstly I used my Fibonacci, but let's ignore Fibonacci at this point, and let's draw in points of interest. So let's see here where we can find support and resistance, and where we're most likely to find points where there might be fluctuation in the graph. So we can see one there, and we can see another one about here. Now this just tells me, right, that at these points I'm going to be looking for a very volatile market, and most of the time you'll find retracements on these levels, at these levels. Now if we go to the hourly, you can even break it down to an even greater level, where you can say, okay, if you look here, there's a retracement and it went up, and there was a slight retracement and it went up. So you need to determine, when you enter a trade, okay, say for instance on the daily. Now let's say I wanted to sell this trade right now, okay. You need to identify, is it in a retracement? Is it the best time to enter? You can see it's actually currently retracing right now. So let's go to the hourly and see where it's sitting. Okay, well the hourly says it's overbought, which means that retracement's probably over. There's your retracement. It should be coming down very soon. There could be a possible change of pattern, because you can see it hits our support level. So we might see that this might enter back up. Who knows? But as you can see, for me especially, if I wanted to enter a trade, I would enter when my hourly is overbought, when my 30 minutes is overbought, when my 4 hours is overbought, just to determine the exact point of entry, so that on my daily I know that I've entered at a point where there's not going to be a retracement, and I'm going to end up being a negative for 5 days or for 2 days, and I'll start seeing profits in the coming day, for instance. So that's how I determine retracements, and that's probably the best way to overcome retracements. And please, can you explain what you mean by waves and impulse? And we'll go through that. So just so I have a reference here, so we can go through. No, yeah. So what I do is say, on my daily now, I'll draw my fib. Let's just cancel that. I'll draw my fib in, and my fib will tell me, okay, look, it hit the fib zone. It's a good time to sell. But let's hypothetically assume that these last two candles didn't exist, right? So we're working on this one red candle, this shooting star here, right? And I wanted to make sure that this would have been the perfect point of entry. So let's draw a line along that line, okay? Now what I would have done is I would have gone to my 1 hour, and I would have seen where on my 1 hour is my stochastic overbought, and where currently am I sitting in regards to relations to my stochastic. So I used my stochastic in this one to identify when was the best point of entry. What I did was, I think I actually entered, I think it was just below this point. It was roughly here. So it was probably further down on the chart, but I was pretty certain about the trade. So but I didn't really necessarily relate directly to the stochastic, but normally I would. And if I had, I mean, look at that. I mean, it would have been a perfect entry point here. You would have seen that your stochastic had come through the overbought, and you knew that on your hourly, at least, it was on a downtrend. On your 30 minutes, you knew that it was okay. It was ranging, unfortunately. Let me actually just continue. Let me just move this because that's not the correct positioning. It looks like this is an uptrend. It's only south. The original trend is up. What you need to do is you need to determine when you look at a graph if it's up or down, right? And you need to determine that if you're selling or buying, are you buying or selling the retracement, or are you selling the trend, buying or selling the trend? Okay. Now let's have a look. Right now, I'll personally tell you that I think it's ranging. It's been sitting in these zones for I don't know how many days, back until 2015. So right now I think it's ranging. There's no definite movement upward like you can see here. That's a definite movement downward, but you know there's no definite movement downward. But yeah, for me, I can see it's ranging, and what I did was I looked at my graph and I said, brilliant, it's come up. My stochastic is overbought. I think it's a good time for a retracement if need be. And possibly even a good selling opportunity. The thing is, you know, a lot of fundamental factors affect the movement of trades. So you need to identify, okay, am I trading the retracement, or am I trading the movements, and you know, and be aware that this could change depending on certain news events. Personally, I think this is just like retracement. I actually do think it's going to come down. But what you would determine, like I said, you would then look at your lower time frames. You would see, okay, apologies, I'm just going to go back here quickly. You would then see, okay, look, my 15 minutes, it's nearing overbought. Unfortunately, this wasn't a great example. It was a great entry for a trade. It just wasn't a great example. So you would then identify, you know, and you could even have a look here and see your stochastics actually moving downwards. You can see how, okay, it's maybe a good time to sell, using your stochastic as an indicator, not only to tell you when it's overbought or oversold, but to indicate, okay, my stochastic's moving downwards, generally on a general level, and my chart's moving upwards. Maybe this is actually a good time to sell, even though my stochastic isn't in the overbought region. Yeah, so will it break the support? I'm not entirely sure. To be honest, Summer. I personally think that this is just a retracement. I really do think it's just a retracement of some sort, and you know, even if it's not, and it's just the support playing a huge role in not letting the currency come down, I still think that it will come down eventually, just because I know that the US dollar should be strengthening. I don't know about the Australian dollar, and it all plays a huge role in terms of fundamental analysis at the end of the day. Welcome, Tuso. You're a little bit late. Don't worry. We just jump on and join us. My take profit, what I did is I used a reverse Fibonacci. So I just placed my Fibonacci in a reverse state, and then I set my my take profit in the fib zone, just because obviously the fib zone is a high area of volatility. But please don't jump onto the trade now and expect it to make profits. I've actually been in the trade since Thursday or Friday. Unfortunately, it is ranging slightly, but we'll have to just wait and see. You see how it's been ranging for the last 30 minutes. It just hit the support line. It could actually be changing direction. It very much so could be changing direction now. So maybe it would be a good time to close the trade. But you can see it really struck line. And you know, at the end of the day, if it doesn't cross the support line, there'll be other trades for you to trade. When do you exit a retracement? Well, please explain exactly what you mean by that. I just need a bit more description of what you're trying to say. When do you exit a retracement? So you're saying that you're in the trade and it's retracing currently? Because I need to know exactly what you're trying to indicate so that I can answer your question. Just waiting for you to you send to write a comment, Zama. Just let me know. So you took that trade, but you're not sure if it'll break the support, hence you had to use support and resistance. Yeah, well, initially when I took the trade, obviously I had levels of support and resistance set in place, so I knew that if it got to that point, I might see a few problems in regards to change of direction and movements. And as you can see, it has shown that yes, at this line, it doesn't want to break the support level, doesn't want to go any lower. The reason why I'm still in the trade is and I haven't left it regarding, you said here, how do you know when to exit a retracement? The reason I haven't left it yet is because I believe the US dollar is going to strengthen. If you have a look at the US dollar JPY, I don't have that open currently. You'll see that where is the US dollar JPY? You'll see that the US dollar is actually quite weak in relation to the Japanese yen. It's at one of its lowest points. And for me, just because I understand a little bit more about currencies, I don't believe that it's going to sit at this level for much longer. Now, if you have a look on the daily, that is one of its lows. It's actually hit a double bottom, and on the stochastic, it's indicating a decent buy. So I don't think, in relation to the Australian dollar, I just think the US dollar is going to increase in strength. And that's why I sold the Australian dollar, because it was a great opportunity for me to sell, and also obviously using the fundamental analysis that I knew. The reason I asked you a take profit is because I was trying to understand, when do you close a position if the trend is retracing. You shouldn't have the mindset necessarily that you need to close a position when a trend is retracing. The problem is, and I've had this in the past, I'm sure a lot of other traders have had this in the past, is that when you take a trade, you need to trust yourself, and you need to trust that your analysis is correct. You need to understand that if the trend or the trade doesn't go in your favor initially, it doesn't mean you're wrong. But if it goes completely against you, you need to understand that, okay, a loss is a loss. You got it wrong. Your technical analysis, all it does is gives you an advantage. It gives you that little extra, push in the right direction. It doesn't necessarily give you a definite example or answer that you're going to make money, that you're going to profit, or you're going to be successful in the trade. We do get some wrong, and unfortunately, it's all it is a tool, or a group of tools that help give you a little bit of an edge over the next trader. So you shouldn't initially be worried or afraid when, like for this instance, you see a retracement occurring. Don't close and panic. You shouldn't panic, because retracements do occur. As you can see here, you've got your up, you've got your retracement, you've got your uptrend, you've got your retracement, you've got your uptrend. You see it even came down to your previous point of entry, right? So don't be afraid that there's a retracement, let me close my trade quickly. If you've calculated your take profit to be anywhere else below, then brilliant. And if not, then freely determine where you want to set your take profit. But just identify and understand that this trade, it could retrace upwards again, and then after that it could eventually come back down. It all depends on obviously the currency pair. But yeah, don't be afraid and don't be worried that when you do see a retracement that you panic, because retracements are all part of how the chart and markets work. You need a retracement. It's just how everything has functioned since the market opened. And you can just see this through your analysis. If you start seeing a change of trend or direction, then maybe identify that something different is going on. So you said earlier that you took a trade and it didn't exceed its previous high. Well, that might be a clear indication that that currency pair is ranging now, which means it's going to have sideward movements, or there's going to be a complete directional change, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you've made a mistake. It doesn't mean there's a problem. It just means that the market isn't currently doing what you believe it was going to do, or what your analysis told you it was going to do, and might give you another opportunity later on to sell or buy the current pair that you are looking at. I see Tuso has joined us. Tuso, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm actually here to help whoever is live in the webinar with us. So fortunately, you guys have got the privilege of having me all to yourself. Okay, let me just have a look at Zama asked another question. Can we please look at the news and wondering what took a trade sold last night? Because right now I'm sitting at negative $10. Okay, well, we'll have a look. I actually was in the New Zealand US dollar trade. You see it jump. This is due to the negative news that we received. I think it was last week. Whereabouts did you enter, Zama? If it was last night, it would have been on my current point, roughly here. Is that correct? Please just let me know after 11 p.m. So let's just go on the hourly and work out where we were. 11, we're on the 13th, so it was the 12th at 11 p.m. Where am I? 10th. It would have been last night when the markets opened. Am I correct? So let's go with there. Is that correct? Is that roughly where you entered? Okay, perfect. Right, so let's take that away. Well, firstly, I don't know if you had your stochastic up at the time, but I can definitely see that if you said this was your entry. Okay, you looked at day one. Okay, apologies, sorry. So it would have been roughly there, I think, which is about correct. Maybe just a little bit lower. Let's assume that was the point. The problem is with your stochastic, as I can see it, it actually hasn't come through the overbought area. Now, there is a problem with that, and there has been times in the past where traders have found themselves stuck in the oversold or overbought region. Now, I've actually seen a pair where it literally stayed in the overbought region. I think it was for 3 years or 3 months. I can't actually remember, but it was very long. I think we were looking at the monthly time frame, and it actually sat in the overbought region for 3 years. Apologies. And the problem with that is the reason why GFI recommends and tries to institute that you only enter your trade once it's come through the oversold or overbought region, is just to give you that extra bit of clarity that the trade is actually going to move in your direction. Now, looking at my chart, I definitely do see that there was a trend. So I would have initially probably, if this was earlier, I would have probably drawn my trend in. And now this can determine a lot of things. Just by drawing this in, it can help me determine a few lines that I might need to go through and analyze. Just apologies, let me just draw this in quick. Just bear with me, apologies guys. Right, so I would have probably drawn it in maybe a little bit tighter, probably around here. And this would have helped me determine, okay, there was a trend. I then would have drawn a few points of interest in, and then I would see here, okay, well, let's see that this point here, there definitely was some form of resistance or support there. Again, previously there was definitely some support on this line, and these are roughly the regions that I want to look at. So what I'm going to do is I just want to also do beneath. Just give me a second. I want to do beneath. There also is some here. I just want to go extremely back now. I tend to use a lot of historic proof, and I identification to see. Now you can see here on these lines, this was the line I think that we originally looked at. Have a look at that. So previously at this value, look at that volatility. Now, yeah, you have to expect that the trade you entered, unfortunately, it will actually consist of a lot of volatility. So you might see ranging for at least, you see here, there was ranging for at least 30 days before it actually chose a direction. Again, here, there was like 10 days of ranging, it went up, came down, 5 days of ranging, and then here it was very volatile, but there was at least 12 days of ranging. And yeah, I think around this sort of price level, especially looking back at, just going to quickly, I always have a problem selecting this. Just looking back at previous levels, I'm actually going to just move this quickly. Apologies guys, so just ignore that. So looking back at previous levels, you can definitely see there was a form of resistance that, you know, that supports your trade, but there's also a lot of indication that even at this point here, there was some form of resistance. I actually just want to go back now on a larger scale, so just bear with me guys. Let's see if we can identify exactly, you see a lot of volatility. So to be honest with this trade, Zama, especially with the current candle that's formed, it's a really difficult trade to be in, unfortunately, and I don't know if you should hold it out if you're willing to trust yourself and see that, you know, the trade's a good entry point to make profit. Then by all means stay in the trade. But if this candle closes as a spinning top, then be very worried, because you might see a movement upwards. Another thing is it could have left the trade, it left the channel, and seeing as it's back in the channel, it's definitely on a line of support and resistance. You might see ourselves moving up into this region here. It could come down into this region, but there isn't really a lot of room for it to go. Stochastic does say that it's overbought, so we could definitely see another movement downwards. But just remember that, you know, these points of interest are high volatility areas, so just don't expect to have a free-flowing trade, unfortunately, because you have entered at quite a dangerous time. I actually did my research on this pair. I wanted to see what the ratio was for the pair's gaps to close. I'm sure you've heard, and I'm sure you've heard at GFI as well as other places, that if a gap forms, it's like an 80% ratio that the gap will close, or 80% success rate that the gap will close. Now, I actually did my research on this trade because I wanted to see, okay, will this gap close? And I actually found a chart that gave me a description of all the currency pairs. And unfortunately, with this pair, the least likely, or one of the least likely pairs where gaps do not close, unfortunately, is the New Zealand dollar US dollar. So you know, I also would have taken this trade on the hope that, you know, when a gap forms, it is likely to close. You know, you could have made a couple pips. Say if you entered here, you could have made 103 pips, for instance. But unfortunately, this pair doesn't work like that, and they have done research and identified that it is not the type of pair that normally closes its gaps. I just want to understand, on your analysis, how did you determine your fib zone, or did you use your Fibonacci? Did you just enter based on the stochastic and on the gap that it formed, or is there some other basis to your trade? I see that there is a zone here that definitely would have definitely pointed me in the right direction, and then this candle is also it's very similar to a gravestone candle, but you know, it's very much, there's a wick on either side, so I would call this a spinning top. Again, another spinning top is formed. At least it's in the direction you want it to form. And as you can see here, we have a spinning top very close to a hammer. Yes, so I completely see that. You would have seen change of direction. Unfortunately, if you'd entered here, it would have been a much better example, because now you can at least you can put your stop loss within your entering point, your entry, and you can just let it do what it needs to do. So you know that if your hot stop loss is hit, you don't lose money. That's the nice thing about working on your entry points. If it were me, and please do what you're freely available to you. Don't take my word for it. But if it was me and I saw that a hammer actually was kind of forming, or another spinning top, it might be a clear signal for me just to hold on just one more day, maybe 2 more days, because it's still very, very unclear. What I do recommend though is that if you're already in, right, make sure you set your stop loss a bit tighter, so that you don't lose too much, and wait to see what this closing candle does, because as you can see, it's right there on this the resistance level. If this candle closes below that, then I think we're on for a winning trade. But if you see if it closes slightly above it, then I think hold on for maybe another day and see what happens. Oh, it's on a demo. Okay, even better. Then leave the trade open. Don't close the trade. I'm an advocate for learning, so please rather leave the trade open and analyze yourself. Okay, if I had closed, would I have lost money? Would I have been better off because the trade went against me? So rather leave it open and learn from what your trade has done. It's much better to learn from visually seeing something than to assume, okay, I would have closed $10 and not knowing exactly what the outcome was. But back to your previous question on waves and impulses, please can you give me a breakdown of what exactly you mean, so that I can understand exactly what you're trying to ask me. And then Tuso, I see you've joined us. If you would like to ask any questions, please feel free to ask questions. Fortunately, I'm open just for you both, so you're in a very good place just to learn exactly from me. It's a one-on-one lesson, which is nice for you guys. No stress, Zama. Please just try and be as quickly as possible, so we can carry on with the lesson. And then what I want to do is I just want to go through some basics again later on, go through some stuff that you guys might be struggling with, and then we can come to a final Q&A session at the end, so that we can go through exactly anything else that might be bothering you that I can help with. Brilliant. So please, can you explain exactly what you mean by waves and impulses? I want to be able to answer your question efficiently so we can progress in the right direction, fortunately. Just going to wait for your chat comments and then let me know exactly. Zama, are you there? Menzi was explaining head and shoulders. Are you stuck? You want me to go through head and shoulders with you? Is that what you're asking? Please let me know if that's what you're asking. Two step back and one step forward, and he mentioned something about impulse. Okay, I'm not so much an advocate of butterflies, head and shoulders. It's something that is not necessarily out of my reach. I just haven't really identified and learned exactly what each of those things mean. I can definitely show you an example with the euro US dollar, because I actually know that there was an example. And let's just have a look at the weekly, and then we can have a look at the monthly. Don't let that stuff confuse you. Remember, that stuff is all, you know, very basic. Not very basic. Sorry, it's very intermediate. It's a high level. It's high level stuff. So just master your basics, and later on, when you have time to identify and analyze butterflies and head and shoulders, you can use that to your advantage. I will give you a brief on head and shoulders, because I know there is one on the euro US dollar. So initially, what I would do is I would identify this as my left shoulder. So I'm sure you guys can see that. You can see it's my left shoulder. Is green a good color? Let me just quickly draw a triangle here. Oh shit! Apologies, guys. Oh. Sorry about that. Let me just change the color. What color would you like to see? Something that's a little bit darker, I think, would be better, hey? Brilliant. Okay. Let's draw a triangle. So what I would do is I draw a triangle from here, I draw it down to this line that I've drawn, and I'll draw it to there. Brilliant. Now it doesn't have to be obviously be accurate. It does help, but you know, we're not artists here, we're traders. So as long as it gives you a rough emphasis of what exactly is happening, it can help direct you in the right path, in the right direction. So I always I use there's certain references that I use where I'll draw my head and shoulders. So as you can see here, I've got my left shoulder, we've got my head, and we've got our right shoulder. Now, what was expected initially was that, because what you find in commonality with head and shoulders is that they have to co-align with each other. So your left shoulder needs to align with your right shoulder. But you'll find in certain instances where that won't be the case. And as you can see here, the actual right shoulder developed a little bit lower than the left shoulder. I actually entered this trade. I think I'm live even on this trade. No, I think it's just my demo. And as you can see, I've been in the trade for 3 days. My stochastic is still overbought. It's coming through quite nicely. And normally what you'll find is that with the head and shoulders, this area here that I've highlighted is the area you want to look out for. This is the area, the hot zone you want to look out for. Because what happens is if the head and shoulders breaks this bottom line, it's going to run for a very, very long time. But if it bounces back, then you know it's going to head in this direction for a very long time. So you need to be aware and identify that in a couple of days we could see movement in either direction. Now, for me personally, I see the dollar gaining strength. I only say that just because primarily dollar's obviously a strong currency, and I know that the euro has always been a bit unstable, especially with Brexit coming out. It is obviously an unstable currency with regards to the GBP as well. And this candle actually here, guys, this, even though it looks like a retracement, I can guarantee you that, especially here, you see this. Now, this I think was on the 3rd of June. This was the NFP. Check how it sort of changed the direction of the trade. That was this candle here. As you can see, it actually set up a brilliant right shoulder. But guys, you know, one thing I can say is that if these terror attacks keep happening in the US, we might see a huge change of direction where the euro will start gaining strength, because no one wants to invest in a country where there's vast amounts of terrorism. So this candle could definitely be identified with the current terrorist attack that happened in the US this morning. So just be aware and monitor certain things like that. So if it gains strength, this trade will be bullish. For me, I still think that this trade is bearish. I still think it's going to come down to the bottom line here. It's definitely going to be tested, and it all depends if it breaks this line, or if it doesn't. Then you know that it's going to come back up, or it's going to come down. I actually had a previous example of a really, really nice head and shoulders. I can't remember which currency pair it was, but sorry, I apologize for all these trades. I was doing a mentorship class. There was a really, really nice head and shoulders, guys. I don't know which currency pair it was on. You can see here, this is my original analysis on the euro US dollar. You see how I plan to sell it at a higher level. Let me show you on the daily. See how I plan to sell it at that level. It didn't get to that level. And you can see I've drawn a butterfly within. And I've only just done this based on what I've seen. I can't visually go and be like, okay, there's a butterfly in this picture, for instance. But yeah, Zama, I personally think that this trade is still bearish, depending on obviously how Brexit affects the euro and how terrorism is affecting the US at the moment. But as far as my technical analysis goes and my head and shoulders, I still think that this is a retracement, and I just believe that it's going to come back down. It's going to be tested at this point, and then we'll have to wait and see. If it breaks this line, then we might see the euro losing its value, and if it exceeds, if it continues up, then we'll see the US dollar lose its value, and we'll see the euro gain strength. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But you can only really know at around this level. I mean, it's fine to enter a trade and take profit. You see how I've set my take profit below, because I still believe the euro is going to devalue. But I could always close my trade here with a profit. If I start seeing a movement in a different direction, then I can just maybe take a new standpoint and see, okay, maybe I should buy this pair. What's going on in the world that could affect this pair? What's going on around me that's having a big impact on this pair? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So always take external factors into account so that you can identify an overall analysis of whether you're a bear or a bull. But yeah, please ask some more questions, and let me know exactly what you got from that analysis, and if I can explain anything on a better depth, on a greater depth, then I'd more than happy and be willing to. Was odd US dollar supposed to my right shoulder? I can see it's going down, but I don't understand what's happening in that pair. I'm actually in this pair, I think, live. Yes, I am in this pair live. Whereabouts do you see this head and shoulders? Is it on the daily? Just waiting for your reply so that we can get on with the show. I think I know what you're going to say, but I'd rather just wait and see. Let's just take away this analysis so we can have a clean chart. Welcome, Nwabisa. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Apologies if it's not correct, but welcome. You've joined us a little bit late, but don't stress. We're just going through a few things. Nwabisa, if you have any questions, please write on the chart, on the chat, and I'll answer them hopefully. There's no right shoulder, so what's happening on the chart? There's no right shoulder. You mean here? There's no shoulder on this side here. Is that what you're trying to implicate? Was that correct? Yes, perfect. Okay, well, if no right shoulder has formed, you can't go on the basis that this is going to be half a person necessarily. Okay, so this would have been a great head, I admit, and you can see a nice shoulder has formed, but no left shoulder has formed. So you don't go, you just ignore the head and shoulders completely. look at a chart and don't look for head and shoulders to be your go-to point to make a trade. If you find a head and shoulders, then brilliant, and then work on that analysis. But if you open a chart and you see, okay, no head and shoulders, then you just go on other analysis like your stochastic, your MACD, your Fibonacci, and other things that help contribute to the overall depiction of the trade, if it's a buy or a sell. So as you can see here, I mean, this would have been a great trend, because as you can see, this is the neckline. It has to be at a similar neckline. It can fluctuate, so it can be slightly like that. But as you can see in this one, it would have been a great example for a neckline, because if we had another shoulder here, then this would be also a great example of a great sell, and then you'd have to wait and see in this zone whether you're going to break the form of the support level, or it's going to shoot and you're going to see a nice buy. I can see it's overbought. Will it form a lowest low? On the daily, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to form a new low. I really don't think it's going to form a new low. I think my actual take profit is above this previous low. And the reason I say that is because if I zoom out, there isn't really an overall trend. Personally, I see more of a range. I'm sure you guys can see it too. Some would say that there is a movement upwards by drawing that in, for instance, and they very much could be. You know, they very well could be an uptrend. But we'll have to see at this point here what happens. If it, my take profit's actually around here, if it comes down and tests this line and actually breaks this line and breaks this line, then we might see an all-time low or a new low. But if it stays consistent at this level, then we definitely might see an uptrend, and then we could see that the graph may move in a manner of like this, for instance. Let me just draw it in for you to see. We might see that this actually could be a new trend line that's formed, and we could see a very new trend forming upwards. But it's all dependent on external factors like fundamentals. And even though the Australian dollar is a good currency to trade, and I know they're an exporter of gold, which makes them a very decent currency and high valuing as well, I just don't see the dollar weakening much further, and especially looking at the US dollar JPY. If you have a look, guys, look how low the dollar's sitting. It hasn't been this low since 2014. Now, because I know roughly how economies work, I really don't believe that the US dollar is going to sit at this level. So you need to identify that if you're trading a currency, what level is that currency normally at? What price level is that currency sitting at? Now, I actually used an example today in class, and I said to them, guys, right, we live in South Africa, okay? What are we used to in South Africa? We're used to having the currency, or the rand, at around 15 rand to $1. Now, the reason we know this primarily is because we keep up with foreign currency, we keep up with the way in which price levels change in different currencies, as well as commodities, indices, and binary. But we also deposit money into our broker accounts in dollars. Primarily dollars. You could use British pound, you could use euro. And we know that the economy has been sitting roughly between 15 and 16 rand to the dollar in recent times. So let's say in the last couple of months, maybe even the last year, I think it's been roughly around this area, maybe a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher, but it's been in this region. So if I had to say to you, Zama, okay, let's have a look at the US dollar ZAR, and we can see that the current exchange rate is that the rand's at 10 rand to the dollar. Now, firstly, I would look at you and I'd be like, well, this isn't normal. it's very unlikely that we're ever going to find ourselves being at 10 rand to the dollar. So initially, I would think, okay, the rand is at an unusual price. This isn't normal pricing for the rand. So let's assume that because the rand's at an unusual price, that this might give us a nice entry point, whether it's a buy or a sell. In this case, it would be a buy, and assume that because the rand's now at a very low value, or it's obviously high value technically, but in relation to the US dollar, it's increased its value by 5 rand, for instance. It would be a good time to buy the rand because it's going to weaken. Because we're on the assumption, the overall assumption that the rand's continuously going to weaken just because of our economic climate. So just take that into consideration. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to identify with. And I'm still learning. I mean, it's all about learning at the end of the day, which is brilliant. But you need to identify and understand that, okay, I know that the dollar, the dollar and the rand, for instance, if you want to trade US dollar ZAR, for instance, or if you want to trade the euro or GB, let's say GBP to the ZAR, I don't think there is a forex pair that allows you to do that. But the British pound is sitting roughly 24 rand to the pound. Okay, now obviously that's terrible for our currency, but if we start seeing fluctuations, and you can see this in other currencies, you can see this by all you need to do is literally zoom out and identify where is the market sitting in relation to the market previously. So you can zoom out and have a look here on the monthly. You can see here it's actually in a recent point where there was a lot of volatility in 1997. A lot of volatility. It's at the same area of volatility. It did come down. It broke down, but we haven't seen it for a while. It's at its lowest point. It's actually at its lowest point than it's ever been since 2003. Now that scares me, guys. That really, really does scare me, because what it's telling me is that economies are losing value, and I personally see a recession coming. But that's another story for another time. And I can see, okay, well, overall the euro is quite low, the US dollar is quite low, and in relation to other currency pairs, how's it looking? It just gives you an overall understanding. Okay, how long is the euro sat in this position, or the US dollar sat at this value? You can see here the US dollar, it sat in this region. Probably this is the daily. Let's just assume 2 months, maybe 1 month. Again, you've got a double bottom here. So you need to just go on the analysis. Okay, the US dollar is at a very low valuing right now in relation to other pairs and other currencies. A nice indicator for me is the US dollar JPY. I know that Japan leans heavily on the US dollar, and if the US dollar, if the Japanese yen gets too weak, gets too strong, which means the US dollar is getting too weak, which is what we're actually seeing now. It's a definitely good time to buy the US dollar, because I know that people just do not allow, especially the Japanese government, do not allow currencies or their currency to be so high valued. It's not good for their economy. I know it sounds very strange to understand, but it's not good for their economy at all. So we might see this being pushed up very soon. Big players in the market will soon push up this currency pair, the US dollar, because they are sitting at lows, very low points in recent times, and yeah, it's a difficult thing and mindset to sort of adjust to. But you also need to be aware, guys, that we are trading in high volatile times, where the market, it is unstable, on one respect, and it is very risky in the fact that markets are very unstable and volatile at the time, especially during high volatility news such as Brexit, the NFP, which is US dollar related, economic climates such as terrorism, how currencies are doing, inflation, news events. So just bear that in mind and take it in and understand that, when entering the trade, is there any news that is going to affect it? Is there upcoming news? You can actually look at Forex Factory or investing.com for news. I'm sure you're all aware of it, but I'll just put it in. This will help you identify any big news events that's coming up recently, or coming up, forecasted to happen in the coming weeks. And then you can do your analysis on whether you want to enter a trade. Say, for instance, I wanted to enter this trade now, and there was a news release. I think there is a news release on oil, or the US dollar. I can't remember. I think it's on a Wednesday. It might be an indication for me not to enter yet. Wait for the news to occur, and then see what the trend is after that. Come to a conclusion, and then enter the market on what my belief is and what my basis is. But any other questions? I see, Zama, you've been typing quite frequently. Please, if there's a question, let me know. Resistance form. If I say GBP US dollar will be bullish and reaches 1.47705 based on the resistance formed. Let's see what you said here. 1.47705. 7705. Where is this line? Must be 1.447. It's below this point here, hey? Is that correct? Will be bullish and reaches 1.47705 based on the resistance formed. Yes, I think I've got the correct level. And as you can see, you're quite correct, Zama, that previously there was a lot of support and resistance. There was some support here, and there was a lot of resistance below, as well as support above here on this level. So you definitely will see something happen at this level. But if my analysis is correct, and it might be wrong, I could be wrong, guys, because all it is your own personal analysis, and I believe that because of this channel that's forming, we could definitely see some volatility here, some movement along this line, but I still believe that overall we are going to be on an uptrend. And I say this because I'm on the assumption that the British pound will not leave the European Union. I'm sorry, Britain won't leave the European Union, and in that will inadvertently value or increase the value of the pound. Which is an example here shown as as an uptrend forming. But just wait and see until the 24th, and you'll see exactly what overall trend is happening, especially on the outcome of the results, and you'll definitely see what's going to happen with the British pound. We could see a pound forming an all-time low. We really could, which is very scary because a lot of economies have been seeing a lot of devalue in their currency. And it just gives me more of a reason to believe that very soon we're going to hit an economic crisis like 2008 for the US dollar, which did affect the rest of the world, actually. So now would be a time to understand and get on the right track to overcome what could possibly happen. I don't know if you can see the markets right now, guys, but it's very volatile. Look at that. Let's see on the 5 minute. I bet you it's very volatile. Look at that. Look at that, guys. Look at that spike. And there must be news of some sort. I don't know if someone can quickly have a look at the calendar, but there definitely must be something being released on the pound. Something is going on. Have a look at that volatility, guys. If we have a look on the 1 minute, it'll probably blow your mind. Check that spike. Something is going on right now. Can anyone tell me? Check that out, guys. I'm glad we got this live. This is brilliant. Check the news for me, please, and let me know. I just don't want to lose the screen. This is incredible. Look at that spike. I wish we had got in sooner. Zama, your question there. Do I need to wait till the 23rd? If you believe your overall analysis is that the Great Britain is going to stay in the European Union, then you need to come up with a conclusion now. If you're going to enter now, then it would be a good time to enter. Keep the risk very low, and rather be in the trade, so that if you're in early, you can catch it very quickly and you can ride it till the end. Whereas if you do wait till the 23rd, which is also another option, also another possibility, wait and see what the outcome is, whether they are leaving the Eurozone or the European Union, or if they're staying, and it'll give you an overall perspective of whether the currency is going to increase in value or decrease in value. And then you can jump on then, because there will be a lot of guys trading this currency, the GBP US dollar. And as you can see on our lead up to the 23rd, look how volatile this currency pair has been. And I know that it is not normally this volatile. As you can see previously, it's volatile in its own respect. This was actually, I think, during Brexit news. There was some news released. But it's not normally as volatile as we can see here. There's no news on Forex Factory. Then I bet you if you go on to your DSTV, go on to channel 4112, you'll see, I'm sure there'll be some release on Brexit. There has to be something that's been released on Brexit, because there's no ways that this currency pair became that volatile for no reason. And you know what, guys, I could be wrong, because it might just be because the currency pair is very volatile. It could just be because it's very volatile in terms of Brexit is 2 weeks away, a week and a half away, and people are trading this currency, trying to get in on the currency, and it's causing a lot of chaos. People are buying, people are selling, people don't know what they want to do because they haven't come to a conclusion whether they're buying or selling and what their standpoint is. So we will see a lot of volatility in the coming 2 weeks, and just prepare for that, because it's going to be mind blowing. And let's actually just have a look. Let's see how many pips that was. 114 pips on one candle, on a minute chart, on one candle. That is phenomenal. The other fundamental website was investing.com. Investing.com. Now, investing.com, they use bulls instead of colors. Forex Factory uses yellow, orange, red to indicate level of volatility. Investing.com uses bulls, 1 bull, 2 bull, 3 bulls. It's very basic stuff. I prefer visually colors. You see red, you know danger. You see yellow, not so bad. It's not going to be too high impacting. So stick with Forex Factory. I think it's a very, very decent economic calendar. But you're more than welcome to check out investing.com and see exactly what you prefer, because obviously individuals, they have their own preference and stuff. So it's all dependent on your personal preference. Do I have any more questions? Is there anything else you want me to go through, Zama? I think you were very fortunate that you caught me when I was only with an attendee list of 2. And we did have Pumazela at one point, but I think you're very fortunate, because I think I would have had 100 of questions that I would have had to have answered. I probably would have had to have gone through the basics. So I'm glad we've focused on very specific stuff that I'm helping you as an individual, and also Tuso, hopefully. Tuso, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the chat box. I will answer your questions, and let me know exactly if there's anything you need help with. Is there anything else you need me to go through, Zama? There's nothing for now. I just have to go back and practice more. Okay, brilliant. I agree. I think practice is very important. Learn exactly what you need to do, and it'll help you a lot. This webinar actually only finishes at 7 o'clock. So, if there's anything else I can go through, please let me know. I mean, I'd rather utilize the full 2 hours than leave early. I think we might see a few more people entering at 6:30. So let's actually just hold on and wait and see exactly if we're going to get a few more people in the attendee list, and then maybe we'll go through some basics and we'll do another Q&A. But for now, can we look at the GBP JPY, please? Sure. What time frame? I've actually done previous analysis on this. Daily, perfect. Okay. I actually did analysis on this. I don't know why it won't let me. I forgot how to. Just bear with me. It's fine. Okay, that's cool. I actually I used previous points, historic points, to draw analysis. As you can see, this became a zone for me. Check how it bounced in the zone and out. That is ridiculous. But let's actually bring up our stochastic. Oh, it's oversold. It's giving us indication to buy. So this is looking good. Our candle is looking like a hammer. That's looking good. Unfortunately, we can't really draw a fib. We don't have any previous points to draw a fib from. What I can do, let's have a look. No, it just wouldn't be viable to draw a fib from there. And unfortunately, we can't draw a fib. It is quite busy, so let's rather start fresh. Let's start fresh, okay? I can see there's a definite channel that's formed here. I'm sure you guys can see it too. We can see that our stochastic is oversold, and we can definitely see a trend. What's the overall trend? The overall trend is down. So if we were buying, we would be buying a retracement, and it looks like there is a retracement that is going to occur. Let's have a look here. We could actually take it from this point. It is a fairly low, recent low. Oops, sorry about that, guys. I'm not exactly, I can't see, I think my fib's quite accurate, just checking there. We can then draw our fib, Nachi zone. So I think this would be a clear, good indication to buy. And remember, guys, another thing I should point out, that I will put up a disclaimer saying that anything I do teach you and go through isn't necessarily something you should take my word for. You shouldn't go and be like, no, I told you to trade, I told you to do this, because at the end of the day, I can be held liable for money that you've lost. So I just like to point out that any trade you do take it's at your own will. There's a lot of risk involved. There's a lot of volatility. It's at your own risk, and I never instructed you to trade specific trades. I just gave you advice from my perspective, and whatever happens from here on now, if you make profit or you make a loss, unfortunately, that's on you. But I will put a disclaimer up, and you will find this video on YouTube very soon. So we will then move forward. I was thinking it will test the resistance. Well, where is your resistance? You think it's along this line here? Is that where you would have drawn your resistance? Let me know. No, sorry, the previous high. You mean here? You think it'll test the previous high? Okay, well, if I've drawn a channel, the chances are that in the channel you will find that the graph will move between one parallel line to another parallel line. So as you can see here, it touched the line and it's on its way up. This is a very good indication of a hammer. I do see that, you know, it will get to the fib zone. I believe it will get to the fib zone. When it gets to the fib zone though, however, and this is where you need to understand that The market is not in your control. When it gets to the fib zone, just have a look at previous events where in the fib zone there was a lot of volatility. Look at that. It wasn't sure, is it going up, is it going down, is it going up, is it going down? So it will get to the fib zone. I believe that, definitely. And I still think it will reach and test the previous high. By previous high, I think it'll reach the top of the channel and it will test it. But at the fib zone, it's definitely going to be an area you need to watch out for, because it could result, it could change direction, it could come back down and end up going halfway. I can guarantee you, this was probably just above halfway. Let's actually, we would have bought, so we'd have taken from our recent low to our recent high. Okay, well, it was literally just above the fib zone. Right here, where was I? Right here, just above the fib zone. So it didn't make a clear decision what it was going to do. But I do think there will be some form of resistance here, and there will be resistance at the channel line. But if it breaks the fib zone area. What other things would you like me to look at, Zama? Please go to the 4 hour. Perfect, let's go. I'm just going to close everything. Let's start again. Okay, so 4 hour. I'm sure you're looking at that previous candle. Well, if I had to now be clever, I would assume that this GBP also had a, yes, look, you see how it reacted. Or was this the currency pair we were originally on? Oh, it must have been the currency. But if you look at the thing, no, we were on the GBP US dollar. Look at that, guys. Look at that correlation. Look at that exact correlation. Can you see that? How interesting is that? Just have a look here, guys. Have a look at this. And then let me just take it. It's going to literally look identical. Look at the GBP, JPY. It is identical. Now, obviously, something has happened in the government. Maybe there's been a terrorist attack or something, or in Japan, or I don't know. Maybe more voters, more people are voting for the pound, for Britain to stay in the European Union, which would strengthen the pound. So I don't know what's exactly happening. If there was strength, they were definitely moving upwards, but I still see it ranging. So I'm not exactly sure. But if I had to look at the GBP JPY on the 4 hour, initially, before this candle formed, I would have said it was a good entry for a buy. The reason I say that is because you've got your spinning top, firstly. You've got your spinning top, which is giving me... no, it's not safe yet to go ahead and buy. Personally, I wouldn't buy right now. As you can see, there's a gravestone candle. This is telling me that there's going to be a downtrend. So right now, the candle's not in your favor, unfortunately. If you had looked on the previous 4 hours, there was a candle here, and it was a spinning top. It would have told me, okay, change of direction. If you had entered on that specific candle, you could have made a lot of pips. We already went through how many pips could have been made. You would be sitting quite comfortably now, because look at the market. It's definitely shot up quite highly. So if you had entered here on the previous day, I think you would have been in a very good position now if you'd entered roughly in this area. Now, though, however, no, of course, I understand that. Now, however, I don't know exactly what news has come out, but something has happened, and it's not a safe time to enter. I mean, look at this candle. If this candle closes, which it will at 8 o'clock tonight, as a gravestone candle, or a shooting star, as you would like to call it, then you might see a further movement downwards. We might see some more ranging, but there's nothing indicating that the GBP is going to value anytime soon, especially for the fact that it did value initially. Something happened that caused the valuation to go up, 180 pips, but now it's back down. It's now sitting in between, and it's not. it's not giving me a clear indication. If this candle closes up here and this full bar is green, then I think it would be a good indication to buy, but it might just be too late, because this news could have definitely affected now the flow of the currency, unfortunately. On the news, they're talking about Brexit, but I can't hear because I turned off the volume. No stress. Just have a look and see what the consensus is. I'm sure along the bottom they'll be say something about voters or something. Have a look at the consensus. I'm really, really glad we caught this, because this was a brilliant example of news occurring. Now, I actually want you to have a look here, guys. Have a look how we actually formed a very similar candle literally a couple of days ago. It went up and then it followed down. So I don't know exactly what's going on. I need to go have a look at the news, but this was a brilliant thing to see. I'm glad we caught it at the exact time. But yeah, Zama, what else do you have for me, my friend? Is there anything else you'd like me to go through? I think we can start calling it an end, guys. I think we've had a very productive and constructive lesson, but I don't see anyone else joining us anytime soon. So I think it would be a great time to end. Please, no stress, of course. No, I'm glad I helped you guys. Please go ahead and have a look at YouTube and stuff, and definitely get back to me. We're gonna have some videos. There's some new videos going up on. There's a TD Markets YouTube channel, as well as a Global Forex channel. YouTube link, please. What I can do is I'll literally just put the YouTube channel, the name of the channel, or you can go to the Twitter account. Go to the Twitter account, TD Market Tube, and you'll see I'll update all the feeds there, and then you can type in on YouTube TD Market Tube, and there's also GFI Tube, which I'll post here now. GFI Tube. So just get this all down, guys, and then have a look, and there will be more videos posted more frequently, hoping that I get more webinars done, as well as private videos that I'll do for individuals. But I really hope I helped you guys today, and let's hope for another productive webinar coming soon. Thanks for joining me, guys. I just want to close off by saying that I'm actually a representative for George himself, as well as TD Markets. So definitely want to promote TD Markets as a broker. So if there's only 2 of you, unfortunately, but if any of you are trading or planning to trade live, I guarantee you TD Markets is definitely up there with the best brokers, even though it's a fairly new broker. So yeah, if you'd like some help with opening a live account, obviously come through to the GFI Fredman Towers, the GFI offices, and all depending on if you're a GFI member. If not, then there will be obviously contact through my Twitter account, my YouTube account, the YouTube account stated, as well as the Twitter account. And if you need help, I can then put up a video which might help guide you to open accounts and stuff. But I definitely guarantee TDM is the way to go, and I really hope that you guys have had a very productive lesson. You will definitely see a lot more of me. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos, and I hope I've given you a bit more of perspective on the markets and stuff, and I hope you guys have a fruitful and pipful journey ahead. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and enjoy the rest of your week.